And here to help us break this all down, ABC News political director Rick Klein, ABC News correspondent Zoreen Shah, who covered Harris on the campaign trail, and Nadia Brown, associate professor of political science and African American studies at Purdue University. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it.
Of course. Great to be here.
All right, Rick, we're starting with you.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure, guys. Rick, first of all, why Kamala Harris? How does Team Biden think that she will help him win in November?
She may seem like the obvious choice, but she wasn't the inevitable choice. In fact, Joe Biden went quite a bit around to a number of different contenders. And I think what's telling here to a lot of Democrats who have been watching this campaign and eager to see Joe Biden win is that it appears that he did what he had to do as opposed to necessarily what he wanted to do. Kamala Harris fills a lot of holes for him generationally, demographically, not so much geographically, although obviously they represent opposite coasts of the United States, and maybe not so much ideologically. She is more on the centrist lane, but still, the fact that she is a black woman, the fact that she's Asian American, that speaks very, very loudly to a large base of the Democratic Party who have felt underrepresented. And the message from Joe Biden in picking Kamala Harris is that he gets it.
Nadia, Harris is the first woman of color on a major party ticket. How important is that right now?
This is huge. This is really speaking to the shifts that we're seeing in this country. This racial reckoning around racial justice and inequality, systemic racism, the Me Too movement, which is putting to the center women's issues around sexual harassment and violence. So the Biden campaign really trying to symbolically show that they understand the cultural shifts. This is, again, a big, big deal because public opinion has moved around these issues very rapidly, particularly since May 25th, when George Floyd was murdered. We have not seen public opinion move this swiftly in American politics in decades, really.
And Zoreen, you followed Harris on the campaign trail last year when she was running for president. Yeah. What would you say are some of her strengths and weaknesses when it comes to relating to voters and pulling them in?
You know, Diane, she has this X factor, this charisma. She would walk into rooms and just turn heads. A lot of people just relate to her. I mean, she is the daughter of immigrants. Her dad is from Jamaica, her mom from India. She talks about her mom staying up late to pay the bills. She has these stories about her immigrant parents that, you know, not many candidates would have on the trail, and people just that resonated with them. I remember going out to her Oakland presidential launch when she announced she was running for president. There were 20,000 people there. I went there 2 hours early. There were lines around blocks. People just wanted to see her. And one thing that struck me at the very end of her announcement, her whole family got on stage. And this was, she calls it like a modern family. I mean, she has her stepkids on stage. She has part of her family is Asian. Another part is South Asian. She has her black family, her Jewish family. They all got up there with her, and people see themselves in her and in her family. One girl who I met on the trail, her name is Charlie. She's a 10-year-old. She has been following Kamala Harris's every move. And she told me that yesterday when I interviewed her. She said, I see myself in her. She represents me. Take a listen.
I was elated. I was overly excited. I did a dance. I got out of my seat. It's just, she represents me, and that means so much to me. She represents me on so many levels, and since she's in a position so high, it's monumental. It's a historic time because it's a woman of color in a position so high.
One thing that Charlie told me when I met her last year is that she wants to be president one day. And just being able to see someone like Kamala Harris run for that top spot kind of allows her to be able to do so. Diane?
All right. So, Rick, clearly a lot of people are happy about this choice, but she's not going to be loved by all. What are some of the criticism Harris is expected to get from the right, and how will the campaign address those?
Well, to be honest, the right is a bit tongue-tied on this one because they like to portray her as a far-left extremist, and there's certainly positions that they can feast on there. But a lot of progressives don't really like Kamala Harris either. So I think this is a difficult argument. You see people like Lindsey Graham talking about the liberal agenda. I think they're going to try to cast her as and Biden as a vessel for far-left interests. You'll hear a lot about California values and far-left progressives, and you talk about her support in the past for universal health care. It is, though, more difficult to design a playbook for the Republicans against Kamala Harris than almost anyone else on the list. Very hard to portray her as a cookie-cutter socialist. Hard to attack her record on foreign policy like Susan Rice's would come under scrutiny. I do think that it's going to be a difficult argument to make. Of course, they'll make it. You've got about 3 months of a campaign, including that vice presidential debate with Mike Pence. But she is going to be harder to pigeonhole than almost anyone else who was on the Biden shortlist.
It seems like the danger there might be that she won't get Democrats all that excited. Can she galvanize the party?
Definitely, that's a concern. I think one thing that Joe Biden hasn't had is that enthusiasm, but he did win the primaries anyway. You have some progressives who are coming out and saying, look, this is not someone who's going to get me and my base and my supporters out there and excited to vote. But Biden's calculation, his campaign's calculation, is that the history-making aspect of this candidacy is important. And in the era of Donald Trump, you don't really need to motivate Democrats so much as to just ensure them that you are reflecting their values and their priorities.
Zorine, Harris had some fiery exchanges with Biden in last year's primary debates. And this is one of those paradoxes in the way our system works, is that now they're partners. But how does that transition happen? How do you go from insulting someone on the debate stage to saying, you know what, forget all that, you're a great guy, we're working together here? How does that process work?
I mean, Joe Biden has already said, I don't hold grudges, right? And it was soon after that moment that, I guess I shouldn't say soon after, but she endorsed him after she dropped out of the race back in April, or I guess it was March, actually, in Detroit. She's raised millions of dollars for him. She's been a huge supporter of his. And she's also said her husband gets along really well with Jill Biden. So they've that is sort of in the past for them. These rivals have now become running mates and become obviously incredibly close. Joe Biden has said he wants someone he's simpatico with, and clearly he sees that in Kamala Harris.
All right, all water under the bridge. Nadia, what do you think this pairing means for the future of the Democratic Party? We've seen some progressive newcomers winning down-ballot federal elections, but these are two moderates at the top of the ticket.
Right. Now, this is a great question because it shows that the Democratic Party is really going to have a come-to-Jesus moment. I think that the Democrats, particularly in the House, are going to have to decide which way the future of the party will go. And there are progressives are winning. We just saw Ilhan Omar win her primary last night. Cori Bush unseated a almost over 20-year incumbent, and Lacey Clay. These are huge wins that are energizing progressives to turn out and vote during a pandemic in places where election protection laws are still somewhat a bit uncertain and shaky. So it shows that the Democratic progressive base is motivated. They're out there, right? They're willing to vote for their candidate. And at the top of the ticket, we have two moderates. But again, Kamala is a historic first that will motivate some to get out in support of Joe Biden, even if he was not their first choice during the primary. And I think overall, Democrats are more interested in winning, taking this election from Donald Trump, from Mike Pence. But then we'll have to have some internal conversations about the direction of the party after the election.
All right. And we couldn't let this moment pass without a round of our favorite game, Stump Rick Klein. And Rick, not only is the pressure on to answer correctly, but our other panelists can steal if they want to. So
ooh, I love it.
Get ready.
Love it. New twist.
Okay, first question. Kamala Harris is a U.S. Senator from California who was the last VP nominee from the Golden State.
The last VP nominee from the Golden State, the Democrats have never actually had a running mate from California. In fact, she's the furthest west that we've ever had anyone on the ticket. So I'm going to go with Richard Nixon on the Republican side as the last Californian for vice president.
Rick Klein gets it right. See, this is what makes this game fun. You never know what this guy knows.
All right. So I have a question for you, Rick.
Oh, Nadia's stepping in.
Can I throw one in?
Oh, I'm going on break. Carry on.
So, Rick, VP nominee Harris may have been inspired to run for political office by one of her family members who previously held elected office. Who was it?
One of her family members that ran for office. I don't think I've got this one. Go and try and steal it. Zorine, who has the book on Kamala Harris, shortly she's got this in her back pocket.
I cannot think of the answer. I have no idea. I don't know.
Well, I stump you both. Yay for political scientists. So the answer is her maternal grandfather, P.V. Golappan, and he held a position similar to Secretary of State here in the U.S., but he held that in India.
Very cool.
All right.
I was totally thinking the U.S., so yeah. That makes sense.
Nadia, you were doing great. I was enjoying this little break, but I guess I'll jump. I guess I'll jump back in. Stumped Rick and Zoreen. Way to go! All right, one last question. We now know all the candidates. Do you know their middle names?
Do I
Debbie.
know them? I know it's
Debbie
Donald
would be
John
Kamala's.
Trump, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr.
Wow.
I'm not gonna. I don't think I know Kamala's middle name, but I know Zoreen definitely
Kamala's
has
is
that one.
Debbie. D-E-V-I.
Boom.
Kamala's is Debbie. Her staff frequently refers to her as KDH, so by her middle name.
Okay. Anyone want to jump in on Mike Pence? Any guesses?
I don't think I've got it. I'm just so excited to say Robinette on TV that I'm stumped beyond that.
Mike Richard Pence. Richard.
That's my name. I should have known that. My goodness.
See, Rick Klein. That was really fun, guys. We appreciate your insight, and we appreciate you being good sports today. Thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.